This is episode 21 of the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast, live from IHRSA 2017, with Josh Donovan from Give Fitness and technology expert Karl Etzel.
So you as a club owner don't necessarily want to share your data outward, but you want to share it among your own systems. Not to be too flip about it, but the robots are coming. The only thing left for humans to do in 20 or 50 years is to be creative, which is actually the essence of what it means to be human.
We don't have a membership staff at all. We don't have a sales team. We don't have a service team. We do everything 100% through our website. But I've eliminated that barrier of trying to sell them a membership. All they really have to do is build relationship and let our very vast and detailed website do the selling for them.
Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. I am your host, Josh Trent, and this is your number one trusted resource for the accelerating world of fitness technology. Each week, we bring you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You'll gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse of what matters most for your fitness business in the age of exponential technologies. This podcast is brought to you by support from our outstanding sponsors, Brian O'Rourke and his family of companies, including Videri Ventures, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and many more. If you're looking for unmatched guidance, capital, insights, or a great speaker or facilitator, Brian and his partners are the go-to resource for your organization. To learn more, visit brianko'rourke.com. We'd also like to thank the Fitness Industry Technology Council, your nonprofit resource for reliable technology information, supported by forward-looking brands who are seeking to drive increased technology adoption in the fitness industry. Make a difference and join at fittechcouncil.org today. On this episode, we're spotlighting a few exceptional conversations with some of the top influencers at the crossroads of fitness and technology live after the FitC Roundtable meeting during IHRSA 2017 in Los Angeles. In our first segment, we're talking with fitness and technology expert Karl Etzel about the importance for APIs in the fitness industry. With all the options and choices of club software systems on the rise, how do APIs and the ability for cross-communication between platforms benefit the health club? We'll delve into how APIs enable better business model innovation, which is one of the most powerful and sustainable competitive advantages, what club owners and operators should know about APIs and how that relates to their fitness business, and some of the common mistakes that happen when planning the proper usage of APIs. Be sure to listen to the second half of the show with Josh Donovan, the owner of Give Fitness, who was selected by IHRSA 2017 as a rising star for his work with Give Fitness, and how he and his partner are using technology-focused member sales and engagement approaches that are changing the way for-profit and non-profit businesses interact in the health and fitness space. You'll learn why Josh created Give Fitness as a cashless environment with no membership staff or sales team, and why all sales are integrated through the website. I know you're going to enjoy this episode as much as I did with Josh Donovan and Karl Etzel live from IHRSA 2017. So let's step in to our first segment with Karl Etzel. I'm here with Karl Etzel, CEO of Systems 3. Karl, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here, Josh.
We just sat through a fun roundtable. Before we dive into Systems 3, and today with you in this segment, we're talking about APIs, these application platform interfaces, what they mean to club owners, why they should care.
Yeah.
Tell us what came up for you during the FitC roundtable. What was top of mind for you when that meeting ended?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. First of all, the first quarter of the discussion was actually about APIs and this integration, so I was pretty excited to see that this is front of mind for other people. I think, one of the things that I think this continued, I don't want to say fracturing of the market, but this development of more and more niche services and niche markets, I think was one of the things that I was sort of left with, right? And this idea that there's a lot of different models and a lot of different ways to deliver value to the customer, right? We talked about Soul Cycle as sort of being very narrowly focused on one thing. And I think it's exciting because I think, first of all, I've always been kind of into niches. I've always been into sports that were a little bit outside of the mainstream, right? I was into bike racing when I was in high school, back when nobody else was into bike racing. And, and then I got into further niches of bike racing. And so I've always been interested in sort of the long tail, right, that you hear talked about in the web services and internet and e-commerce space. So I think it's really exciting to see all these different models evolving, and there's room for everyone if you operate and execute efficiently.
Yeah, and maybe at the end of our time today we can talk about scarcity mindset versus abundance. For people that don't know what an API is, unpack that for us, and why is this your space, and why do you feel like this is something that people should really care about?
Yeah. Fundamentally, so what is an API? It's an application programming interface. Very simply, when you as a human being sit down to use a piece of software, you use a UI, a user interface. When one piece of software wants to use another piece of software, they use an API, an application programming interface. And the reason I'm excited about it, two reasons really. One, I mean, I'm trained as an engineer. I'm fundamentally a builder. I like building new things and innovating. And APIs make it really easy to innovate and build things quickly. Okay, the old school business model, the old school engineering model of software development is out the window, right? And it's all about agile development and 2-week release cycles, right? And live beta testing and rapid iteration. So that's one of the reasons I'm excited. The other reason is that besides enabling technical innovation, APIs enable business model innovation. And if you look over time, business model innovation is one of the most powerful, sustainable competitive advantages, right? So when you think about APIs, they're not really, you have to think about them as a business tool, not just a technical tool.
Why do people resist APIs? For example, I know Fitbit about a year and a half ago, opened up their system to almost everyone. Mm-hmm. So pretty much any system can read Fitbit's Nudge Coach and the FitSee group being one of them. Mm-hmm. Why have these become so important in app and web service development?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. I think one is, as the market grows and as consumers expect faster innovation, APIs enable that. I think the concept, and I think one of the reasons people are resistant to APIs, there's a number of reasons. One of them is this idea of, and it's a phrase that I really just find repugnant, is the idea of owning the customer, right? When people say, I want to own the customer, I feel my body tense up. I hate that idea. You don't own the customer, you serve the customer. And people who resist this idea of opening up, I think a lot of it is born out of that mentality. I think, so that's part of the resistance. I think one of the other things is people don't realize just how much they can drive revenue. APIs, and I hear this all the time, we don't want to have an API because we don't want to give away the technology or give away the farm. And it's like, no, you're not giving away anything. I didn't say give it away.
Yeah.
Right.
Essentially, you're not owning the customer, but you do get a pretty big stake in how their data is used.
Right.
And so with APIs, a system, for example, looking at medical record data, contrasting that with physical activity data, mm-hmm. that API has to be very seamless. Around the security point, this is kind of a tertiary question. Around security with APIs, mm-hmm. is there concern around security for clubs?
Absolutely.
Is that information something that if it got leaked that, so-and-so did a workout at one time, would that really matter? Would that really be a safety issue?
Absolutely. So first of all, you have to build security in from the ground up on your API. There have been a number of cases of APIs representing, security leaks, right? And people who are looking to hack into systems definitely know how to look for those vulnerabilities. So that's a good point. At the consumer level, there are protocols. There's a protocol called OAuth that is used whenever you want to link two services together. OAuth is the protocol by which the applications allow each other to talk. So for Strava is a good example. If you want to let your Strava account talk to your Suunto Moves account or your Garmin account, they use a protocol called OAuth to allow each other to talk. Security is definitely something to watch.
Who should know about the API in the club, and how would that actually relate to their business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it really depends on where you sit in terms of scale. APIs are really more important for technology and solution vendors. For the club operators, the question you want to ask is does your solution vendor, whether it's your point of sale system, your CRM system, et cetera, does it have an API that makes it easier for you to integrate that with other solutions? Right? I mean, we heard this during the roundtable today. Clubs have, any business has multiple different services and they need to integrate with one another. Your CRM system needs to integrate with your ERP system. Why? Because serving customers is dependent upon the supply of product. Let's say if you're doing manufacturing, right? In the club space, it might be more CRM with marketing automation, right? Or CRM or club management with the cardio monitoring solution, right? So for the clubs, they just need to understand, are the solutions that they're buying, do they have an API available, and do they support integrations? And
with integration comes sometimes customization. When we look at how club data is shared, what are the types of data that is most commonly used and fed through an API that'll actually be of service to not only the customer, but to the club?
Well, so it depends on which part of it depends on exactly what you're looking at. So in the world of like the fitness tracking, we see a lot of just the basic heart rate data, GPS data, time data, right? So Strava knows how long and how far I ran and what the elevation profile looks like. We see a lot of that, right? On the marketing side of things, you might see APIs exchanging data that's got more to do with engagement, right? Who came to which events, who read which emails. So there's a lot of email marketing systems, right? And they expose data, who opened the email, who read the email, who forwarded it. That's the kind of data that you might exchange. And APIs can really handle. It's kind of amazing what's available out there via APIs.
One thing that came up in the FITC meeting here in the roundtable was these legacy systems. A system that might be so archaic and it's an old battleship. Even if you have a technologically savvy platform that has an open API, it can't pull that data from a legacy system. And I think across America, there's probably thousands and thousands of clubs that are running on really old systems. Do APIs even matter in that stance?
You know, if you're talking about like a club management system, APIs could certainly matter. I mean, generally clubs are kind of the small end of in terms of volume, right? So if you're a club, there's probably not that many clubs who can aggregate so much data that the data itself becomes valuable to other people. So you as a club owner don't necessarily want to share your data outward, but you want to share it among your own systems. And that's how I would think about it if I were a club owner until I got to a certain scale, right? At a certain point, they have population-based data that actually might be interesting.
In our health and wellness space, well, really, I mean, fitness is a part of the wellness space, in my opinion.
Right.
Looking at customers' data from activity, looking at electronic medical records, looking at these things that can all point the angle towards someone being well.
Yes.
How do you think that the good companies are really doing that now? What are some of the names that come up when you think, okay, this company's doing a great job that has built APIs that are actually of service to people? What does that look like?
One of the things that's really interesting is we're starting to see, and this is true not just in the health and fitness space, but across many industries and across industries I've worked in outside of fitness, is we're starting to see companies who focus on API aggregation and actually rolling together multiple different systems. And I think that's actually a very exciting space, right? There's a company called Human API that rolls up APIs for medical systems. There's a company called Validic that rolls up APIs for devices, right? And I think those are really exciting spaces. Yeah, those are probably the most interesting ones that I see going on right now. And I think, we're going to start to see better aggregation layers at the top, right? The Stravas of the world. There's an app called exist.io. There's a bunch of other ones that allow the consumer to pull together a bunch of different stuff and mix and match it in their own ways.
You seem like there's a genuine interest of technology. You're also wearing the Oura Ring, which is one of the wearable trackers that doesn't have any RF or any kind of frequency coming off of it. What is your passion with Systems 3? Tell us a little bit about Systems 3 and what you do for the fitness industry.
Yeah, so System 3 is a company that I've started in Silicon Valley. I think one of the next big waves in wellness is cognitive performance. We've been talking for a long time about go do your cardio and reduce your risk of heart attack, or go lose weight and sleep better or whatever. I think cognitive performance is one of the next big waves for a variety of reasons. I mean, not to be too flip about it, but the robots are coming, right? The only thing left for humans to do in 20 or 50 years is to be creative, which is actually the essence of what it means to be human, right? It's not to do the same thing over and over. It's to do the same thing a better way or a different way or a more delightful way. So I think cognitive performance is what's coming next. So System 3 is a company I founded to really pull together a variety of different cognitive performance tools and technologies and hopefully deliver that to a huge market.
And I think how this relates to APIs is the way that machines will talk to each other, the way that clubs share data, the way that anybody can use technology to harness this power of making life more seamless, saving time, using tech so it can finally get us out of the chair with smart reminders. How do you think this is going to look for the fitness industry in the next 2 years? I hesitate to say 5 years because we don't know what that's going to look like. But in the next 2 years, what's parting guidance for club owners when they look at APIs and the tracking that you and I have touched on?
Yeah, I think the key thing is one of the things we talked about earlier. Really understand your segment, understand what problem they're trying to solve, right? And if you understand what problem the customer's trying to solve, then you work backwards from there into how do the technology components that I integrate at the club level enable me to do that, right? If you're working with endurance athletes, as an example, they're only going to do a small fraction of their training in the club. If you really want to serve runners, cyclists, swimmers, triathletes, you better watch what they're doing outside the club, right? Because 20% of it's in those four walls. So that's one good example, right? So you would want to know, do you have a mobile app? Do you have device integration, et cetera? In other areas, it might be, if it's more, physical therapy related, it might be more tied to medical systems, right? From my perspective with System 3 around cognitive performance, I'm really interested in, I use Inside Tracker for my blood work, right? We know there's a lot of relationships between hormones and blood markers and cognitive performance. There's more and more data on on the microbiome and how that affects cognitive performance. So there's a company that came out recently, Day 2, and they actually map your microbiome genome, right?
And Ubiome as well.
And Ubiome as
the
well,
testing
right?
Company.
And they're going to expose that data as an API. So what I care about as System 3 is, okay, as I'm looking at how to deliver a cognitive performance platform, those are the APIs that I'm interested in, right? Because if you're not watching somebody's blood work or their microbiome, you're missing a big part of the story around cognitive performance.
And I think a key takeaway for anyone listening, whether it's a trainer, an owner, an operator, is get invested, spend some time listening to this podcast, reading the newsletters that pertain. Are there any resources that are a go-to for you? And then we'll say goodbye for people to learn about these APIs and technology sources.
Yeah, absolutely. I would go to programmableweb.com. It's basically a directory of all the APIs in the world. It'll give you a really good idea about just what's available out there. There's a book by O'Reilly, a company that does technical publications, called API Strategy. And I think it's a must-read for any technology company executive. And I would say if you're a technology company executive, you should be thinking about how APIs play into your business strategy at the business strategy level. It's not just a technical detail that you leave to engineering. And the best example I always give people is, Jeff Bezos of Amazon famously issued an edict to his company that we will build everything internally as an API to make it available to customers. And if you don't do this, you're fired. So, that's a CEO level edict that we're going to bake this into everything we do as a technology vendor. And now we know what AWS has done in the cloud services world.
Karl Etzel, the robots are coming. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Josh.
I'm here with Josh Donovan, the owner of Give Fitness. Josh, we just wrapped up the roundtable. When you started the roundtable versus now that the roundtable is done, did you learn anything that maybe you were realizing was going to be a big deal, but yet it changed your perspective on what you thought?
One of the things that was interesting was hearing about data being siloed and wanting to integrate and open that up, and it's nice to hear people having those conversations and talking about the intention of really needing these companies to communicate more with each other and open that up larger. So yeah. I was probably more just encouraged to hear that continue to be the sentiment.
Tell us about Give Fitness. I know that it's a gym here in California, Atascadero. It's on a mission to exceed member expectations at every opportunity with facilities that are maintained, affordable, accessible, and safe. This is something that's for you and the co-founder around our obesity epidemic. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, the heart of our business, Give Fitness, you touched on some great points there. The heart of our business is giving, and we give 50% of our profits back to the community where we do business. But in order for that to happen, we have to be a profitable fitness center first. So all the things that you touched on, hitting those member expectations, exceeding them, it becomes paramount because that has to happen before we have any funds to give. And the obesity epidemic is real. It continues to be real and probably increases. And it's something that I'm really passionate about and wanting to provide an accessible fitness center for people to actually come in, better their lives, add years to their lives, and participate in health and fitness.
There's a lot of club owners listening. You just celebrated your 3-year anniversary.
Yes.
What did you learn over the past 3 years when it comes to owning and running a profitable club and using technology? What really helped you the most?
Wow, that's a great question. I think what I've learned is to be fluid. We like to use the illusion of fluid because, water, if you have a water droplet in your hand, then it's going to move around and you can kind of mold it and shape it. Sure. And so we like to be flexible. We had the unique opportunity in starting from the ground up and really being intentional in how we created our culture and how we wanted to keep a pulse on that and have it be something very specific. However, as you probably heard me say in the roundtable, it's important to understand what your members want and what your members need. You have this idea in your head of the people that are going to be coming in. Is that really the people that are in the gym? And so we try and keep open communication. We live in a world that's real time. So if I post something on Facebook about the gym and then 2 hours later I'm posting something about my personal life, they don't see any differentiation between that. So we try and just be really open and accessible, have conversations with members to find out what it is that they want, how we can do better. We're not afraid to ask how we can do better, or we're not afraid to address concerns or complaints and just really make them part of the process.
One thing that you do that I really admire is that not only do you donate half the profits, but these are to programs specifically that strengthen personal character and create value in people by providing opportunities for personal growth. That is something I have not seen in the industry. I want to definitely acknowledge you for that. That's incredible.
Thank you.
What is the fire behind that? Why did you set it up that way?
The fire behind that really stems from our parent company, Working to Give, which my business partner, Matt Holguin, started as part of his master's project out of Azusa Pacific. And his heart and vision was really to kind of change the way that for-profit businesses and nonprofit organizations interacted. The nonprofits are just always fundraising, for-profits are just out there making money. There really seems to be a good opportunity for these two things to work together, right? And so from his perspective, it was, well, let's start businesses that could sustain nonprofit efforts and outreaches and missions and things like that. When he and I met, and I bring the fitness background, then it was, okay, let's marry these two into a brick and mortar gym location that can do those things. And it really kind of meshed well with what our industry's been saying for a long time, that we want to give members something to truly belong to and truly be a part of. So as we adopted our catchphrase, our tagline of "You get fit, we give back," it really resonated with people. It was, okay, hey, all you have to do is come and do what you wanted to do already, which is get fit. But by being a part of this gym and this organization, we're going to give you that aspect of we give back, and you get to be a part of that.
And it's such a powerful tagline. I'm curious, when you talk about your road leading up to Give, why did you actually get into the industry? What was your genesis? Did you go through a transformation on your own? Because I can definitely hear in person, feel the energy from you around why you do what you do. So tell us about why you do what you do.
Yeah, I just kind of grew up in it, to be honest. My mom in my early years worked in fitness. I was that little kid that went to the gym after school and, got kicked out for playing racquetball or, being just causing havoc throughout the gym. And it's been something that's been a part of my life. I didn't go through any kind of personal transformation. I did spend some time outside of the industry that gave me the perspective of wanting to be back in it. So I spent some time in the Marine Corps. I was in the military for a while, and then I dabbled into life insurance sales and kind of brokerage firm wholesaling. And it just got me far away from the people, and being able to help people and impact their lives through health and fitness, to me, is just a good use of my skills and talents, but also, and especially with our business model, provides that kind of feel-good message.
I loved what you said. Before we can give, we have to first give to ourselves. It has to be profitable. Mm-hmm. When you look at the challenges that a lot of club owners face coming up here with the onslaught of information around technology, do you feel like being at the roundtable today really gave you some clear takeaways on an action you can take in your business? And if so, what is one action you're looking at taking?
Great question. So again, going back for us, 3 years old, we were really intentional in creating the kind of culture that we wanted. And I do believe we're kind of on the front end of technologically advanced. So, we're a cashless environment. We don't take any cash in our gym. We do everything with swiping the cards. And
why'd you go that route?
A couple of reasons. One was kind of the convenience of people aren't always carrying cash, and people seem to be carrying cards every day now. It allowed us to take one thing away from our front desk staff that they don't have to worry about. They're not worried about reconciling money, counting their drawer. There's nothing for anyone to come in and steal. It was part of the culture we wanted to create. We don't have a membership staff at all. We don't have a sales team. We don't have a service team. We do everything 100% through our website. So we're integrated with ABC Financial. All sales happen online. Even if someone comes into the gym, that front desk person gives them an iPad. They help kind of guide them through the process and answer their questions. But I've eliminated that barrier of trying to sell them a membership. All they really have to do is build relationship and let our very vast and detailed website do the selling for them.
One thing to close our conversation, Brian O'Rourke talked about the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset. And looking at what you're doing where you're giving, but you're also making for yourself. How do you think technology is going to fuel what you do in the next year when it comes to giving? Do you think technology will be able to give more people some financial support through your service and bring you some new members? What might that look like?
Yeah, I think most exciting for us is we just officially formed a 501c3. So we have Give Fitness that then fully financially supports and sustains the Give Fitness Foundation.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And being able to educate people about that and publicize that and have real-time tracking via technology so people can go to a site and see exactly how many dollars we've put in, exactly where those dollars are going out, And yeah, I mean, the platforms like crowdfunding and being able to use things like that, people can actually contribute towards us now.
And what I'm hearing from you is there's no meeting that needs to be done for transparency. Your transparency is out there online.
Exactly.
Robert Dyer talked about this on a podcast. You can't lead from the front regarding transparency if you then have a meeting in the back room that's private about transparency.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for what you do with Give Fitness. We'll link everything in the show notes, but tell people one line of parting guidance or a few lines that you really feel they should be looking for in 2017 when we involve tech and fitness.
Wow, with tech and fitness, I listened to Lindsay's podcast, and you had the 6 rapid questions you gave her, and the one about the best advice. So, and I think this lends itself to technology and fitness, but we have a grandmother within our organization, and what she says is, you don't use people to get things, use the things to help people. And that's something that we try and communicate to all of our staff is there's all these things out there. How do we use these things to help the people within our organization, whether that's staff or members or wherever we want it to land, but it all needs to be about the people experience.
Well, I definitely feel that from you. And where can people learn more about Give Fitness?
The best place is probably our website, givefitness.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Josh, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Josh.
Really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Josh Donovan believes you don't use people to get things. You use the things to help people. It's important to understand what your members want and what your members need. And the first step when selecting and using any new piece of technology is to have a grasp on who you're serving and why they want you to serve them. In the world of fitness tracking, we see many APIs, and there's now many different models emerging that will deliver even more value to the customer. This continued fracturing of the market and development of more niche models are exciting, as the type of contextualized data that's being shared helps to monetize and serve customers in a progressive and powerful way. Karl believes that as the market grows and as consumers and customers expect faster innovation that APIs will enable, one of the reasons people are resistant to opening APIs is because they don't want to lose the customer they own. But the reality is that you don't own the customer, you serve the customer. The people who resist this idea of opening up are born of a mentality of scarcity, and what most people don't realize is how much revenue they can drive with an open API and a new mindset. With transparency in business for both nonprofits and for-profit companies, in working together, they must have a focus on communicating to staff that with all the technology devices out there, how do they use them to really help members? Because this entire process, in the end, is all about the member experience. Thank you for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. Here's a quick message from Brian O'Rourke.
Hey, Josh, thanks so much for doing this great podcast. Friends, if you're enjoying this podcast, you're really going to enjoy following at Fit Tech Council. Follow me at Brian K. O'Rourke. And you'd really, really do us a big favor if you could go on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this and give us a 5-star. If you're enjoying it, please give us a 5-star and please share this podcast. Help spread the word about technology and the great opportunities it is creating for our industry space. Thanks so much for listening.